Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afkar, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of your divine uniqueness. So, yeah, happy to connect with you here on the show, whether live or on the replay. And also very excited that Cathleena Hailley is back on the show. Um, I think most of you already know her. She's been joining us every season in the past couple of years. And today we'll be continuing in a series which has been very, I think, very inspiring, very eye-opening, about really connecting to our truth, which is like where we can, which we can find within in the 0 points when we come back to the 0 points, and when we can call our soul fragmentation, so we can, how to say, like experience the physical life from a state of wholeness, and yeah, so the series is restoring the original soul fragmentation and releasing the imprints from the body and brain. And today it will be about the imprint of sacrifice. And so we'll be discussing that. And also after that, we will have a Q&A where you can ask Cathleena your questions. So for that, you can raise your hand on Zoom by pressing react, then raise hand. You can raise your hand also on the phone by typing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And Cathleena is a spiritual healer and frequency alchemist. So yeah, with that, Cathleena, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Monsef. Always wonderful to be here. Love your energy and the group that always comes with you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, Beautiful. Maybe we can start because we talked about soul fragmentations and the imprints. Maybe we start just maybe a short introduction about that for those our audience who are listening to this call as the first before listening to the previous ones.
Sure. Um, well, what we're referring to in terms of soul fragmentation. So the example that I like to give is, say you're, a child, and say like I'm a little girl and I'm playing in the dirt, and somebody comes along and says, a girl doesn't do that. And then what happens is say I stiffen up and I stop doing what I'm doing. So in essence, my soul then fragments, and what fragments off would probably be like, say, freedom. And so my aspect of freedom fragments off, or basically my book of information, because I like to describe our soul, as you will, as like a library of information. So part of my library, one of my books called Freedom, now fragments off, and then I imprint where freedom was with like restriction or some kind of rules. And so how that ends up playing out in my life is, say I go to seek a career in my life, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick something practical instead of something of my heart, something that's free, until I restore that fragment and release that imprint. And so this idea of how this is taking place in what we're doing in our reality. And because the body is everything, I say this is the millionaire, this is a relationship, this is everything, because we are energy and frequency having a physical experience through the body. That's why we release these imprints and bring back that soul fragment from the brain and body, because it's really everything is right here. We are in essence fifth dimensional or higher beings, but the body is vibrating at these denser rates. It's the one that's picking up all of this story, and so it's restoring that aspect of self, and basically saying, wait a minute, that's not me. Who am I? And how could I show up as myself? And so, in a simplistic way, I like to say, we're all just kids on the playground, and we have forgotten that. And, we don't realize how much magic we really have, and how powerful we are in terms of the creation of our own life and our own existence through this body, because whatever this body is vibrating as is sending out the message and coming back, and it is creating. We are creators. And so, if we can really drive that home and realize that, we've done this, and really what we're talking about is the mastery of the mind. And that's what it is, because all of this story, if you think about it as that child there, what happened in that moment was that, if that were me, I listened to somebody and I took that story into my mind, and then I became that. So what did I do? I took my soul essence, myself, and I attached it to that belief system, and then I become that. And so this ties into the idea of what, we may have heard the term quantum entanglement. And the bigger aspect of quantum entanglement just means that things are connected together, but the entangled aspect of it means that, I've forgotten that I'm really source consciousness or God consciousness having experience called Cathleena. I become Cathleena instead. And who have I become based on these belief systems that I've now engaged in? And that's why I said, if we can really take that home, we have so much power in that. Because if I, in the privacy of my own home by myself, begin to ponder, like, wait a minute, do I really believe that? Do I really feel that? Regardless of what we think is going on in the physical world, we're changing the outcome of our own life and others. Actually, we're freeing up the collective, because it is a quantum field. So we don't realize, by letting go of these limited belief systems, we're actually freeing up the energetic field, in general. So yeah, it's a pretty big thing, and it's a lot about what I do and what I'm here for, and kind of what my soul agreement's about, to be able to come forward and bring these things.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Cathleena. And so today is about the imprint of sacrifice. And like in our societies, like the acts of sacrifice is very respected, and it seems like it's an act of love. But after some time, like this act of love becomes maybe something else, like resentment, or especially if the expectations are not met.
Yeah.
So how do you see that? And well, maybe if like the root cause of that, how we became to this place where we really like or respect a lot this the sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, sacrifice is a huge piece that we're playing out, I think, in the bigger picture, because we're playing out good and bad, right or wrong, and which don't exist. It's really just, experience. I mean, the dark serves you as much as the light serves you. It's all God consciousness. So it's all here for a reason. So this idea of sacrificing is that I have to give up something in order to receive something. And that's not true. There's a difference between compromising and engaging and moving with, energy and things that are coming in, whether like you're in relationships and you're with, if you're in a relationship with somebody, then there may be some compromising energetics that are going on, but that's a very different energetic than a sacrificing yourself and giving up aspects of yourself or something else. And the reason that we tend to do that is some type of fear of loss or not receiving something that we desire, like we're afraid we won't receive love, or we'll lose it, the love, typically, or something, about that. And when you realize, first of all, that's not possible, because we are love and it's an energetic, but that's such the game, because, if you really think about that, why would you ever want something that you have to keep pulling towards you? And how would you ever know if that was really genuine? Say you're in a relationship, and even in some of the dialogue that we're taught to do, where you get in a relationship with somebody and you make statements to them, say, you're going to be with me forever. And it's like, and you expect that person to say that to you. And even if they do, it's kind of like, well, what does that even mean? Because now, you're making a statement, but how do I know whether that's truth or that's not truth? I can only know that if I'm in the authentic experience, if I'm present, if I'm letting go, and I talk about this a lot, that we're stepping into or attempting to step into what I say is right relationships, or learn what relationships are. And this is how we're not playing the game of sacrifice, is that, like 99% if not 100% of conversations are manipulation. That is, I'm not just saying something, I'm trying to put something in you and take something from you. And this is where relationships are too. Relationships are transactional. They're, seductive. They're persuasion. Think about like marketing. It's about trying to get you to do something or to sell something, or, this kind of stuff. But what if it were genuinely of your heart? What if you just really went inside and said, I have this passion about this, and I just offer that and do that? That's a very different energetic. And in that, there is no sacrificing, and then you have the genuine expression for the other person. And what is that? Well, that's, if I'm doing that, I'm showing up in the 0 point. So I'm showing up as my God presence, with this authenticity of what I'm bringing. So because everything's energy and frequency, I'm not distorting the energy by trying to create a certain frequency that draws you or connects you. I'm literally opening the field to the highest frequency there is. And as that, you then have the opportunity to discover who you are all on your own. Because this ties into, that all we're doing in human existence is matching frequencies in order to be comfortable. So everything is a frequency. And the game that we've been playing in the subliminal energy field through this sacrificing energy is all about frequency. It's like, it's a power, right? It's playing in the game of power. I mean, and the inorganic power that I say, which is something greater or less than something else. So it's this game of either I'm going to power over you or be powered by you, in this energetic. And that's going on through tone in your voice, through a certain stance in your body, through even colors and clothes. It's all has frequencies and energies. And some people know exactly what's going on with that. Others unconsciously maybe do know, and some will play with it, and I think the goal, if you will, is to, pick things, know things by what you really feel, and you're genuine, and know and get to know yourself, and know if you're playing that game, if you are, attempting to pull somebody in or push something or do. That's how we play these games, and really, I say that the three major frequencies that we're guided to play are imprisonment, enslavement, and sacrifice. So we imprison ourselves in our mind. We enslave ourselves within our belief systems, and then we sacrifice, of course, money, particularly things for money, which is a really interesting game, because if people even recognize that it's not the money that they're really after, it's something in relationship to that, and that is all energy and frequency. And really, why do we do that? Because we don't believe in ourselves, because we've been taught that we need to go discover and find and take from another in order to have what we desire. And that's because we're taught limits and limitations, and they don't exist. It's a quantum field, and we can create, from the ether, all sorts of things. So, it really is this game that is being played out. I think the biggest sacrifice that humans do is to sacrifice yourself to yourself by yourself. That's what we're doing. I mean, we're literally in the privacy of our own home, in our own body, torturing ourselves and telling stories and repeating things and wondering why these things are occurring in our reality. And it's like, wow, what a masterful game to teach us to do that. Until you don't. And I've done it. I mean, I've definitely been the culprit of that in my own reality, which is why I get it, because I'm aware of it. And because we're living in a world that encourages that, it's not a one and done. It's an ongoing practice of noticing, okay, what am I doing? Am I sacrificing? Am I shutting myself down? Am I in any kind of fear? Do I feel like I'm going to lose something? And it takes a lot of internal bravery, really, to stop the game of sacrificing. And I say that from personal experience. Like an example would be if I say I want to go into a partnership maybe a business partnership or something like that. And I feel like that there's some kind of dominance that might be taking place from that individual in some way. But yet I really desire to be in that partnership, and maybe it has financial reward for me or something like that. So, but that dominance is not helpful. Maybe that's actually limiting me in a certain way and causing me to not be able to be at my fullest potential. Well, it's like, am I going to be brave enough to say that to this person and see if we can figure that out and organize that so that that doesn't exist? Or am I going to just play the game in it? And these are happening all the time. These are definitely ways in which we're playing this game. And that's why I said it takes a lot of bravery, because, yeah, you could speak up and that person could be like, they don't want to work with you, or they don't, and you just have to be okay with that and trust that the right person's going to come along, or something else is going to come along. And whether it's a love relationship, friendships, any types of relationships. And this is when we start to become masterful at really what sovereignty is. Sovereignty is self-governed internally, and where we're really disengaging from this game, where it's like taking that breath and having that faith, trust, and surrender, and saying, okay, I don't want to be diminished in any way. And I'm doing that myself. So we take ownership. If I diminished myself by that, but I have to speak up to it and say, look, I did that, but I'm not doing that again. So if that affects you in this relationship, then okay, then you have to decide, but I need to be me, within that. These are these types of things that we're stepping into, and that these are ways that we're sacrificing that may be a little bit more subtle. I mean, there's obvious ways that we're sacrificing if we're in abusive relationships or in jobs that we can't stand or things like that. I mean, there's just so many different ways that we're doing it. But it takes mastery of just like taking a breath and trusting. This is where we have that faith, trust, and surrender, that we are source. We are the source of our reality. Divine abundance is our birthright. When we show up as our unique self, there is a beautiful life for us as that, whatever that is, and it will be fun and exciting and have health and abundance, and all of it. But yeah, we're not taught that. We're really just not taught to discover yourself. So.
Yeah.
And I'm here to encourage that.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Yeah, I really loved what you mentioned. And also when you mentioned like the trust, because many times what happens is that we have expectations from a person or an experience based on an image that we've built around them before knowing them. And then also we have that fear of losing them, fear of missing out, and there won't be another chance. And we don't trust that the universe will bring the right experience, the right person for us. And it's like the part of letting go and trusting is very, very essential.
Yeah, it's like recognizing that you get to have the most amazing experience and the most amazing relationships, and you don't have to settle. And that's that sacrificing often, is that you're sacrificing aspects of a self because you think you have to, and we don't.
Absolutely. And Bridget wrote, is the frequency of judgment underneath sacrifice?
Yes, of course. Judgment is a huge one. Yeah, judgment. We are self-judging. We're judging all the time. Everything's about judgment. And so I'm constantly saying to myself, who am I to judge? And noticing the judgment that we do, that I have to myself. But yes, of course, because you're judging that situation, you're judging it in a way that's saying, ooh, what if I can't get this, or what if I can't do that, or and so this is why I say is we have to, if we can disengage from all of that. So that's the mastery of the mind, right? Because the mind has that story there, and then we're attaching ourselves to it and going into a particular story with it, whatever that is. Because we're really, what we're saying is we're in the unknown, And we're not taught to be in the unknown and have joy and excitement and curiosity and fun and expectation of something wonderful. We're taught the opposite. We're taught to be in the unknown and fear it and be like, oh no, and something else and horrible things will happen to that, which is why we end up creating those, which comes into our reality. And so, yeah, it's a practice of getting excited in the unknown, and that way then, and as that judgment tries to come in, it's just saying, well, I don't have to go that way. I could do something else. And that's the mastery. And I literally say that to myself. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in feeling bad. I'm not. I don't know what's going to come. I don't know, but I'm not interested in that. Nope, I'm not going that direction. So I'm going to stay in a positive just because I want that. And that's, I don't know. I have a choice. And you begin to talk to yourself in that way. And that's that deep dive in self-love. You're like, no. And the cool thing is when you do that, you really get to know yourself. And then you can then reflect back to times when you thought it was like a bad situation or something. And it'll surprise you that you'll feel your own heart in that situation. And you might, where you might have seen yourself as somebody that was maybe pushy or something like that, and you realize, no, you're actually just really innocent and pure, or something like that. You may notice something really different, and it's like, oh, and then you're like, oh, well, hey, I like myself. That's pretty cool. And as you do that more, you'll start to attract more of those people that really align with you. We are very unique, and I say with myself, like, I'm very different. I'm like odd to people, and it's funny. So I've had lots of interesting experiences, particularly in, day-to-day human story, and it's just, and really for me, it's more that it hasn't aligned. I just haven't felt people that I particularly necessarily connect to. So because they can be affected by you, and I have a very large energy, and a lot of things happen. So we could easily, in our little innocence, because that's what we are, we're just really innocent little beings, can go, ooh, uh-oh, I did something wrong. And then now we perpetuate that, and that's the story of the judgment. And then that's when we start to sacrifice, and we start to change and adjust ourselves to try to be with these people that are just, they're reacting and they don't know, there's just this reaction going on all the time. So I've learned to just be with it, and just like, okay, well, it might happen, I might trigger somebody, or most likely something's going to happen, but for the most part, it becomes easier and fun. And we begin to, just start to notice people that'll come into your reality that are connected to you, and so on and so on. But this is new for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
New.
Yeah, we are still learning how to navigate or maybe enjoy the unknown. Yeah. And like finding safety in the unknown instead of the known.
Yeah, just being and not taking things personally. I think that's the biggest, boy, we're so sensitive. Everybody here, everybody who's in these types of things, we're just so sensitive because we have this beautiful, innocent, naive aspect of self, and then we have this wisdom aspect of self, and they're often very separate from each other in different ways. And so, like I can be so naive. I'll walk into a situation, I'm just like, la, 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 everybody's going to get me. And then they're like, no, they don't necessarily. And, now, of course, it's not so much, like I said, but it used to be very painful and very hurtful. And, and so then you cower away, and you make a lot of statements about yourself. And I think that many of us have done that. And so this is really the place that we have to just notice that this is what we've been convinced to do. Because, we have these beautiful hearts, and we've been convinced to shut down the hearts, shut down the innocence, shut down that curiosity, that place of the unknown that we don't know, and shut down the place to even ask, right? Because, oh, if we have all this wisdom, well, I should know that. So how can I say I don't know that? Well, what if you don't? And that's part of the thing, is being brave enough to ask questions, to really show up, to to explore, to be the child, the kid, and with wisdom and things, and communicate and so on. And this is how, again, we're not sacrificing when we can truly show up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, also something you mentioned about relationships is like, especially when others like react to us, and sometimes we can feel guilty, like it's our responsibility, and then we start sacrificing for them.
Yes.
And yeah, it's like we said, it's a practice, and the more we know ourselves, the more we are able to navigate that, understand where they come from, and maybe hold a space. But we understand that it's everyone make their own choices.
Yeah. And how many times, I mean, I bet probably everybody here has had something like this where, maybe you meet somebody, and in the truth of your own self and soul, maybe you think they're a little bit quirky, or maybe you don't quite connect with them or something like that. But maybe they get a reaction to you. And so then what you do is you go out of your way to try to bring them into your reality and have them be your friend in some way, and it's like, that is such a huge way of sacrifice, right? And we don't realize we're doing that. And why we're doing that? Because we don't like the feeling that somebody didn't like me, but maybe you knew that it wasn't a match for some reason. So it's not, if we don't judge that, if we just realize that we're energy and frequency, and sometimes things connect in and sometimes they don't, and it's okay, then we can do that. And I've certainly been a culprit of that now, but I catch myself, I'm like, oh no, what's my motivation to bring that person in? No, because they reacted, like, oh no, let me take a breath and send them love and compassion and open up, and particularly love her. That's why talking to her, I'm like, no, it's okay. I love you. We're good. It's just, person has a reaction. It's okay. Because deep inside, we don't want to hurt anyone. Right. And we don't want to hurt either, and so yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's really just about taking a breath and dropping in, saying, okay, everybody's going to have their moments, because this is this dance of frequencies and energy. And we're unwinding these stories that we've become. And the biggest story is trust. People don't know what trust is. They don't know how to trust. They don't know about belief. They don't know. And I've talked about this when we've had the other courses about the truth frequency, what is the truth frequency? It is the 0 point. It is the place of no thing and all possibilities. And that's really what divine truth is it's the unknown and the creation all at once. So there isn't like a truth. It is the 0 point. So the only way that we know our truth is if we are authentically present and having an experience. And as we're doing that, if you remember, we're vibrating at the highest rate there is, the fastest rate. So if I'm showing up as that, and somebody else is not in that frequency, and by universal law, faster moving frequencies always try to raise slower ones up. So what's going to happen is I'm going to irritate them. I'm going to bump them in some way if I'm in the neutrality and they're not. So they have an opportunity to move into that, or I can shift my energy to match them, because remember, it's all about matching. So this is something I had to learn, is that when you do show up in that neutrality, I mean, I can feel some people love it. They want to come into that field because they're like instantly like, oh, wow, I can let go here and I can be, and, and I can feel that. But other people are like, something's happening here. It's like they feel like somebody's trying to make me do something. And that's what I have had reactions to in myself, of like, oh, they have a reaction. But, as you continue to drop into that neutrality, then, this is where we learn this idea of trust. And, some of those people, they'll move away and they have their own idea of what they believe trust is trust in their case is matching wherever they are, because they want to stay there. And that's okay. Everybody has their journey, of where they are. But I feel like that, the bigger journey that we're here for in this ascension, embodying is to, embody ourselves in that full sovereignty, neutrality place of the law of one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Beautiful. And Mare, she wrote, please talk more about the sacrifice we do to ourselves in our own space.
Yeah. Well, my experience is when you're literally by yourself, or often when I wake up in the morning for myself, because of having traveled in different dream state or things like that, sometimes you can wake up in a certain uncomfortable energy. And I notice actually that from the 5G frequencies and so on, there's a lot trying to interfere with the endocrine system. So, of course, the endocrine system is connected to all of the hormonal, which then can create, the differences of that fight or flight energy. So, your body can feel like an upset, but you don't have anything necessarily to attach to it. But what you start to do is to find things, and you will, and you can do this unintentionally. And this is your own sacrifice, where you've got this uncomfortable feeling, and then what you can end up doing is start remembering places that you maybe thought you did something wrong, or focusing on things that aren't working in your life. And this is when you're creating that whole sacrificial energy and that whole torturing of self, until you're like, wait, what am I doing? And so I do the opposite. When I notice that, I'm like, this is curious. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? What's happening here? And I think the more that you become the witnessing observer of yourself in that way, and just go, that's when I notice things like, oh, this is a 5G energy, or this is this, and I remove that, or I do this, or and we become masterful at those various different energies that are attempting to throw me off into some kind of a field. Because as I keep saying, that the body is everything, and think about it. We're taught, ignore here and race around out there and get things done. No matter what's going on here, I got to get this done, because I don't care if I have enough sleep. I don't care if I got to work because I have to pay my bills. This is the mentality that we have, but we're energy and frequency. So even from a human level, it's like, well, if I don't have my body, what do I have? Why would I think that that's, we sacrifice our health all the time. It's like, that's an interesting thing all on its own. But then when you go into the energy field of that, it's like, what am I creating? So this is why I say the practice is really just noticing, being in your own home, and saying, am I in a joyful energy, and can I bring myself into a joyful energy? And what would bring that for me? Maybe I want to eat an ice cream, or maybe I want to, take a bath, or, what am I not allowing myself to do, and why? This is, I mean, it really is. So I say this is really easy and really hard at the same time, because it is as simplistic as saying, wow, I'm the master of my universe. But notice how we can't let ourselves do that, because the mind races, right? Like, we can have a literal that says, I don't know where my money's coming from, right? And if that were the literal in my life, I can be in my own home, in my own space, torturing myself about that, because I can choose to go, oh my God, I don't know where my money's coming from. Instead of going, well, I don't know. I don't have any idea at this now moment. So I am going to go for a walk, or I'm going to do something fun, and it's not a denial, it's a changing the energy and frequency of what is it, and this is how we've forgotten how to be those kids on the playground, because if we're just a kid on the playground and we're just going to discover, we're going to move towards things naturally that we like. But we don't know what we like. We don't know who we are. We're like, we've been so pushed into a trajectory of what we think is a life. You got to get a job, blah, 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 that often we don't have any idea. Now, I would say that, I always like the term, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So, what you have already done is part of you, who you are. There is a gravitation of certain things and aspects of self whether it's in your multidimensional self of coming into here or in whatever 3D life, you have, there are aspects that you can begin to learn, but you get to, once you start to ask yourself that, this is really the key. It's giving yourself permission to start to say, wait, do I like this? Don't I? I mean, I think about my life all the time and I say, do I really enjoy this? I don't know, and some things you can't say like, I enjoy it in the way of maybe it's, I don't know. Like, do I love being on the computer all the time? Not so much, but I love that we have the opportunity. I love that the internet exists and that we have this platform. It's amazing, right? And I love the energetics and are here. So this is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the energy here with you. You're very calm. This is a great energy. It's like a fun place to just come in and bring this. I love this particular conversation. It's fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so it's like you said, like when we have different choices, it's not about sacrifice, it's more about maybe we love an experience more than the other. Like we'll have an experience that we really love in one. Yeah. Also, Nat Shirot's comments, this is important to remember about relationships. Nothing is personal.
Yeah.
And yeah. So also we'll start taking questions in a few minutes. So a reminder, everyone, you can raise your hand by pressing react, then raise hand on Zoom, and also type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And before that, Cathleena, I would love if you can tell us about the program. Our offering today is, so we have two packages. The first is restoring the original soul fragmentation and releasing the imprint of sacrifice, which is a 9-week activation series. And package B includes package A plus 15 minutes one-on-one private session with you. And the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, CATHLEENA. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. So yeah, Cathleena, I would love if you can tell us about this program.
Yeah. Well, this is, like I said, one of the, I think I have 12 total that are on the website, but it is a 9-week pre-recorded course. Everything I do is in the 0 point. So no matter when you listen, it's in the now moment. Each time you listen, it's new. And it does take you through the brain and body, all the body systems to be able to clear this frequency of sacrifice. I am also offering, and I haven't been offering in a while because I've been quite busy. So it is an opportunity to have a discounted session if you choose to. I did offer that this particular time. So you may want to take that into consideration in this one, because that is offered on package B, here as well. I highly recommend all of these courses. I think, probably most of these people here know me and probably have taken them. I think they're beneficial for anyone because as we're talking about here, these energies and frequencies are absorbing within the physical body in ways that we don't even recognize. So definitely opportunity. And you can, you get it right away. So that's the other advantage to having it recorded, is the minute that you get it, you can, listen and download. And I do everything, activations and energetic mudras and things like that. And so you'll be able to experience through that. It's very experiential, everything that I do.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Cathleena, for both the activations and also offering this time the one-on-one session for those who want to go deeper with you on a personal level. And yeah, so also everyone, highly recommend that you work with Cathleena. And again, you can sign up on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, CATHLEENA. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, the link also on YouTube video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And yeah, we have a question from Janet. Many times in my life, the people around me got the relationships, job, promotions, etc., while I watched and cheered them on, but basically not growing and feeling like, when is it my turn? Could this be an unconscious pattern of sacrifice in my energy field?
Yes, it can be, but it feels more like it's a worthiness program, like your own self-worth, that you feel like that you're not worth having what you desire and having the like career or I guess in this case, if you say job, that you desire. So I would dive into that, like why am I, feeling that I'm not worth having that?
Yeah. Therefore, thank you, Cathleena, and thank you, Janet. Jill Shiraz Cathleena's programs and sessions are so helpful, amazing, and life-changing. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah.
And Nat, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, could you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I was wondering if it would be possible for Cathleena to just tune into my field. There seems, I mean, maybe it's the worthiness or it's the sacrifice or just anything else that comes up. There's a lot with relationships and me that I'm working through at the moment.
Do you have any particular question?
Well, is there something that I would need to release, or is there some sort of blockage? I've tried a lot of processes and doing different things, but it does seem to be a lot of the same loops or learning lessons. So I'm working on raising my frequency so I can have different experiences, but I'm still in the process of working through that to the best of my ability.
Well, I think that, even the fact that you come on and the question is there anything, so that's coming from a place of like, am I broken? Do I need to be fixed? And I think that right there is where the first initial block aspect, it's like coming from that place that something outside of myself is going to give me the answer. And so, I would be looking at that, like why would I feel within my own self that I don't have the answers there. So that feels the most important, that I'm feeling right away within your energetic field. And it's because it's coming from the mind. So it's like not allowing yourself just to drop into your heart and taking a deeper dive at like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I repeating these things? What is my own belief system? That's what I feel. I feel like that you're very mental. There's a lot of mind energy here. And so I would suggest being able to be in the present moment and asking yourself why. It feels to me there's a lot of angst about being in the present moment. There's, it's a fear, there's a fear about letting go and being present. It's not safe. It's about safety. I mean, there's just a lot in your field in relationship to that. It's definitely around the solar plexus. So it's how you're identifying yourself, and it's also, you're also carrying the other side of that coin of like a frustration energy of like maybe people have judged you or told you that you don't know, or so it's kind of like both sides. It's like this sort of ego self of like, I should have, I know I've got this divine purpose, and the other side of like, I don't know what to do. I don't, and so it's you're really caught between those two, is what I'm feeling in the energy. So the way out of that is to drop into the heart space and begin to discover who you are just on your own, noticing those stories, noticing the voices that have been playing out, seeing if you can just take a breath and be like, okay, I'm not here to prove myself to anybody. I'm not, I've got to find my own self in this mix.
Okay, thank you very much. That's actually quite accurate with the solar plexus because there's some things there that I've been working through. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'd say I would definitely have a session if you at some point, because I could go much deeper in that for you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nat. And also thank you, Cathleena, for the guidance.
Mhm.
And the question from Joshua. Hi, Cathleena. Been working on my root chakra to help myself create in this reality. is there any soul fragments that are ready to integrate to assist my lower chakras at this moment? Any daily practice or recommendations?
Well, with you, Joshua, it feels like that, yeah, I immediately had almost like a sadness or some type of energy in relationship to that root chakra. So it's trying to figure out where that's coming from. As it is partly about, maybe it's about not it's kind of a worthiness program about not being welcomed or something like that within the earth. There's something about being held, certainly by mother, by like a divine mother presence, a certain energy is something about that. And it's like a deeper sadness that I feel. You're very innocent. You've got this beautiful light. I can feel that. And there's a lot of energy that you're carrying, but it's like I don't know, something, I don't know if you've been hurt or, but it's definitely connected to something like that feels about mother, like the mother energy. You just went really into your head. So I'm going to shift that energetics. I would suggest for you hugging a tree, going out and really being a part of the land. And it feels like just really hugging a tree and feeling the energy of love coming towards you from Gaia, from the land herself. I think that would be very helpful to just really help bring in that energy that I'm feeling through your body, and as I kind of took you there, I felt that more standing in your own and in your own truth and your innocence and so on. And I definitely would suggest having a session if you could as well, because I can feel your energy. There's a lot in there, but even just opening this up and talking about it right now, I could see some different rooting in and opening. I'll open your crown as well. So I'm just going to open that up for you and allow you to connect deeper into Prime Creator. So just open that up. And I will do an activation that we can help with some of these energetics that I'm feeling here.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helpful for you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Cathleena, and thank you, Joshua, for your question. Yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback. And Miriam, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for taking my call. And Cathleena, everything that you were talking about today, I know has been up for me, and it was very reassuring and affirming. You and Monsef both talking back and forth as to how we move through these times and ways of being ourselves with others. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm still trying to recover from a really bad car accident, and the brain injury in particular somehow. And I'm living with parents that are going through a lot, but of course it's bringing up dynamics, especially with my mom and I, that will be like literally gut wrenching. And I've done so many things to attempt to open and love and be present. And so recently I heard there was a galactic piece to it, and to call in the councils of light, which I did my best with, but I was wondering if there was anything else you could see that would help me go forward and feel, I guess, more comfortable in my own skin, more centered in my knowing, while loving and accepting, like you're saying, of where others are. So it's not like you're running or hiding. You can be present and you can be at ease, right?
Yeah. Well, I think with family, of course, it's one of the most challenging. But the way that I sort of like to think about this is that with particularly parents, if you're having dynamics, what we're doing is we are the child with that parent in that time frame, instead of being a sovereign being in a person with a person. So often what I like to suggest is is we have to kind of like mourn the death of that parent, even though, of course, the parent is still there. But by doing that, we're like separating out this energy of like mother or father from that person. And that allows us to experience that father or mother as now a person, and us as a person to person, and that really begins to help this dynamic that seems to be stuck in place, because often, many times, which I think in this case, which I can see too, we've had multidimensional lives with these people, and we've been different characters and different things that are showing up. And so, being able to detach that dialoguing of the parent, this is my parent, that from our conscious mind, and having them just be a person, this really begins to change that dynamic. So does that make sense? And are you able to think about doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Even just playing with it while you're talking, I can feel a difference. And I feel like I was moving in that direction because I also have learned a lot about compassion, and being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Plus, I asked Source, please help me see through your eyes. So thank you. That's a more concrete way of doing that. It's simple, but yet it seems potent.
It is very potent, and it is about, think about looking through the eyes of Source as Source, seeing the Source in all things. And how do we do that as we drop into our heart space? It's very hard to drop into our heart space when we're triggered by, us being the child to this parent. And a trigger is a guarantee I'm not in the present moment. So really what I'm describing is a way to be in that present moment, to be in that 0 point. And how we can do that in that neutrality is take out, again, the character that this person is in my life. And in this case, their character role of mother or father, so when we can see them as the character and the person, this is when it becomes really different and magical, instantaneous, really. We're like, wow. And you can suddenly, the places that we were triggered, like, oh, that's interesting. Because, then we can do several things. We're no longer triggered by them, but now we have the opportunity to heal that part of cells, because the only one that can do that is us to us. And then that's that deeper dive. So at that point, now that little you that was triggered, now you get to see her and you get to love her and you get to say, wow, okay, wow, I was feeling this sense of, whatever, diminishing or something. And that part of self, you get to say, oh, I love you so much. You don't have to diminish yourself. We're amazing. We're beautiful. And we can bring that you up to the surface, and that vulnerability now that you can be present with this person. And I can tell you an example that happened with me, with my own mother, is when I, would share lots of things with my mother. And my mother said to me one day, she goes, wow, you really do care. And I was like, yeah, I do. And she goes, oh, I just thought you were just full of yourself. And I was like, oh, all right. And it was interesting because what happened, and this may happen for you, is, so I was on the phone. And so I get off the phone with her, and suddenly I just dropped to my knees and I started crying, and I cried so deeply, and I was just crying. And it was because it was like my mother finally saw me, and that part of me, it was that little part of me that's just cried and cried and cried. But then the next day I woke up and I was so mad. And it was like just mad, because that little part of self was mad. And once I let that all happen, then it became this beautiful balance of whatever had taken place. And those things don't have the opportunity when we keep becoming them, in it. So you may have experiences like that. And this is for you to allow yourself to have those experiences. Okay.
That's spot on, because it has happened. Like when I'm in that frozen place and I'm calling on forgiveness and love, and I might soften and things get better. I see the shift in the dynamic, and then the mad part comes out. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to undo that goodness that I just
Yeah.
allowed in. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, because you have this package with the brain piece, if you see anything, but it's like since the accident, I never felt anything this gut wrenchingly, or of course it could be on the phone with the phone company or whatever. It doesn't take much for my system, my nervous system, to be overwhelmed in this intense anxiety. So, and when you're living in the home versus just on the phone with somebody, and because you mentioned about not having to dim and letting that little part of you, but if they're literally letting you know they don't want your joy, they don't want your love, how do you show up? The best I came up with was kind of like having this bubble around me and asking to be able to feel that nourishment and that truth of me in my bubble, even if I couldn't show it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but what I would suggest in that is that the one that you're putting in a bubble is little you. And if instead you made that bubble your body for that little you, and you started to bring her forward and say, let that innocent part of self, and remind yourself, like, I'm here in my room and I'm really okay. This is when you need to start that self dialogue. Like, I got my feet on the floor, I'm looking out my eyes, I'm literally in my room, and start to tell yourself, like, I am safe, it's okay. And who you're talking to that little part of self that's in that trigger, so that she doesn't stay hidden down, so that you can bring her to the surface and be like, oh, okay. And this is this practice, and you do it to whatever's comfortable for you. But that would be kind of next levels of being able to start to embody that innocent part of self. This is what I feel is becoming more awake from what you're describing as what's taking place in the brain. And I absolutely think that these courses, all of these, that course particularly, yes, would be very, very beneficial. And I'd say come have a session for sure, because I can feel where your energy is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I hope that was helpful to a lot of people, because I know a lot of us have stuff still with family and wanting to be true to ourselves, but also loving and kind and understanding. So I'm just grateful to both of you for today and this conversation, but sharing feedback with me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Miriam. And thank you, Cathleena, for the guidance. We have a feedback from Joshua. Thank you. Super, super helpful. I am actually in the redwood forest right now. We'll definitely be hugging some trees. All you said, I definitely resonate with. Grateful for your advice and energy transmission.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you, Joshua. And a question from Bridget. I am getting a lot of judgment and betrayal from my family, mom, sister, as I continue to expand myself and don't engage with the old stories. I am feeling defensive. Any suggestions to move out of this?
Yeah. Well, again, it's like, what part of you is feeling defensive? I think this is, you're being the sister, you're being the daughter, instead of just being a person that's having an experience with two people. And this is really the key, I think, to any of those types of things. So, because we have this history that we've accumulated with particularly family members, so that's why things can get triggered. And it's really what parts of self. So when we can heal her, it's about allowing these parts of self. We only us can heal that for ourselves. Sometimes you may have to walk away to be able to kind of regroup, depending on what your energetics are. But really what's going on in a bigger picture is that this is like a frequency battle, so to speak, right? It's like what I've talked about before, that everything's just about matching frequencies. And very, very commonly in families, there's a dynamic of a dominant frequency that's taking place. And sometimes that's really what it is that certain people need to dominate another because they don't want to change their energy and frequency. So they will continue to push a certain energy towards you, and it's going to be up to you whether you can stay in that neutrality or move into that energy. And this is what I've said before. Think about frequencies and energies just like emotions. And by universal law, faster moving frequencies always try to raise slower ones up to match them. So the example would be, if you and I come around each other and I'm happy and you're mad, what's going to happen is I'm going to irritate you because I'm vibrating in a faster rate and because my happy is trying to raise you up. So as long as I stay happy, you only have two choices. You either get happy with me or you go away. And how many times have you been around somebody, you're happy and they're mad, and they're not happy till you're mad, and then you're mad, you got mad because you lowered your frequency. And so this is really what it is. It's a game in that way that people don't recognize. So it's always coming through the mind. So the trigger happens through the mind. It's like flipping through stories. And this is often what people will do unconsciously, is they'll bring in topics that can trigger things because it will trigger a certain frequency and emotion. And yes, it's just a mastery level of trying to master the mind and to stay in that neutrality with yourself as much as you can. The interesting thing about trying to stay in neutrality often is that we also are taught that I'm somehow weak, or I'm diminishing myself in that way. And that's all, again, part of the game. So, but that's your story, and we have to just realize, like, this is what's happening to me. If we realize the bottom line to this is, what am I feeling? I can make it a story to say, if I change my energy, I'm weak. And how is that serving me? Okay, this is where I keep going back to. It's like, this is the trick here, is noticing, what am I doing to myself? Because we have this projection, like somehow I'm making them right. Who cares about what that energy is? It's what am I feeling? Me. It's all independently here. So this is just this practice, okay, that we continue, because we're so used to projecting and stories. It takes mastery.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Cathleena. And yeah, thank you, Bridget, for your question. We would love to hear your feedback. And let's see. Miriam is asking, does Cathleena have session openings this month, or how soon are her next openings? Do you know?
I don't know at the moment, but I will say to you that if I, for whatever reason, don't, you can send me an email. And if you have flexibility and I have something, I will find you something else. Sometimes I have other opportunities, but that's not a guarantee, but it is something that you can send me an email for.
Yeah, thank you. And a question from Catherine. Hi, I am experiencing fear arising of the loss of my identity. Little me is so afraid of being overtaken. I keep having computer glitches, raising concerns of loss of security and being hacked. Can you speak to this, somehow having sacrificed myself, my identity?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing in that what I always do is I say, well, first of all, if it's a literal in terms of your own energetic, what would be the worst thing that would happen if I were hacked? If anything, I mean, we can always figure things out. I think that's part of the bigger energetic in that. You're really in your head, and I can feel your energy is really overthinking. To me, again, this is all the same thing we're talking about here. I think the loss of identity is that I don't know who I am. It's not that I've lost who I am, it's that I don't know who I am. So it's dropping into that ability to be in the unknown and discover who I am. This just feels like the biggest piece in here. It feels like the biggest piece for what's coming up the most here, and it's definitely that biggest piece for you, Catherine.
Yeah. Catherine, she wrote, thank you. And Bridget also, she wrote, Thank you. Everything Cathleena said is exactly what I needed to hear. Perfect divine timing for the show today. Janet, thank you for answering my question. I did suspect worthiness was a factor. Is there a class on worthiness in this series of the 12 classes?
I'm sorry, is there a class on what did you say? Oh,
worthiness.
worthiness. Not worthiness. I can't remember all the different ones that are there. There isn't one exactly on worthiness, but there's something that does connect to that. I can't remember all the different ones that are there.
You can email one of us, and then we can later check.
Yeah, we can check into that.
Yeah. And Nats, the unknown is coming up. So many things have fallen away to create space. Yeah, maybe we have some more questions, but maybe we'll take one more. So it's from Tamzin. Hi, Cathleena. My situation is similar to the previous caller as moving with my mom in a week. Would it be similar advice for me in seeing mom as a role being played? I ask as I'm at a different place on my journey to my mom. And I may be reflecting what she sometimes projects. Reference, inner child, love on both sides, love and light.
I say that this practice is helpful no matter what. And so if we, I think the more that we can, anybody, this is how we, I think, interact in relationships in general, I feel in the most positive way is just seeing an individual as an individual, as who they are, as their God sovereign self, first and foremost. And then, if we choose to have them as a friend or a parent or a sibling or a child or whatever, we have those roles, but it feels like the primary way I feel in order to engage with another being is from their present self, whoever they are, that you can't go wrong in that, because you can begin, because from that space we are in our heart space, experiencing them, and we're experiencing their heart space, which is where their authenticity is, not from the mind space. That's how I would engage it.
Relationships can be really like a way for us to learn more about ourselves. Sometimes it can be an accelerator, because we can learn a lot like through those maybe exchanges with others, especially when there's trigger or something like that.
Yes, because relationships are mirrors. I mean, if you imagine that every single character in your life, every single person in your life is an aspect of you, because they are. And that's the most challenging, is that when you have the most challenging people in your world, you say, oh no, it's nothing like me. It is an aspect of you, because it's a mirror of you in some way, in some capacity. And so this is really what the mastery becomes. When we're in that neutrality, then we can notice, like, how am I attracting this? Because remember, what did I say? All we're doing in human existence is matching frequencies. So somehow there's some type of match for that in my energetic field. Now, whether or not I'm going to keep that, or whether or not, what I'm going to do with that, is the mastery level of this. And that's why I say, is the more that we practice that neutrality, the less and less you have of those types of energies and frequencies, including in the parent. That's why my mother changed her energetic, because I stopped playing that game within that field.
Yeah, I agree with you about that. When we really stop playing that game, we start seeing people changing around us.
Yes. Yes, because it's a different version of them. Yes.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Cathleena, for everything you shared today. It was, as always, very inspiring, very helpful. Thank you for the guidance you shared with our audience, and also the program, like the 9-week activations and the one-on-one session. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
And
yeah, go
do
ahead.
you want to do an activation?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everybody, let's just close your eyes and take some nice deep breaths. I'm going to change the sound here so you get all the nuances. And we'll just move into the energetic field here. Sa te tine kuima papohi ana sarega tu isisine kuina kattu ya po hosane ta tare kanada ko e masika shishini la gaina la gaina da como bo shishumi va yino ba yotuti la katara kale tuti la kasika de mom posini mera pakelo kotle kala kata na ne kiti ya sitku shishina la kata la mo pepe sike shishimam Tuia pa kosida la kadala kado ia pa vo ene masikele kete la kati ushi se sai kanire xiko simeriketa la mokoma pa podia tuluka sugelem tudikama kwata e so kusikare le komboa posita le gat de gato kusimet yuma sikele kon wasale kala kala guida bo wasale matita ala ka akayu shimitu kosimine petu mati la kam bola katale kata apoksila mokama bolekam Misingari ko ia masukiri la ko kishika singa tiko ma tishiko snika la pomba pom ma sam. Really saw entities, energies, inorganic frequencies, inorganic technologies, inorganic timelines, past, present, and future, and all space-time continuum from my conscious, subconscious, and cellular level. Take a deep breath. Ako kitsalimia po pithara katudima. Apasa. Amashkone tsara papa kunsine pena kanesh inikadepa parekatush akos anak akasikon. Pakone la papa kasani kori dikani e shukoni meti na mo metida asare kane and then in a kasani batuti ba. Close all portals, gateways, pathways, meridians, stargates, wormholes of any access to my energy, past, present, and future, and all space-time continuum from my conscious, subconscious, and cellular level. Take a deep breath. Apopas aikos amokushine apamaniatanam. Opening up the portals in your feet, allowing you to root and ground into the crystalline core of Sophia Gaia. Opening your crown completely to Prime Creator, as above, as below, as below, as above. Take a deep breath. Asani ko tini marikana metatikere kon. Calling in the 18th dimensional diamond consciousness of water. We're going to bring this into the fluid systems in the body, the brain fluid, spinal fluid, interstitial fluid, lymphatic fluid, all the fluids in the body, becoming divine clarity and flow. Taking a deep breath. As we're going to clear through any particularly any conditions that are related to any fatigue, any of the autoimmune type, if anybody's feeling any of those energetics, we're clearing through this. And we're going to call forward the highest and most profound miracles and healing miracles take place this now divine moment according to divine law and order and the will of the Oversoul. And we're going to ask for all that no longer serves you to simply release with grace and ease. I want you to imagine little particles like dirt just floating out of your body. You don't have to know what these are. It's all limits, limitations, judgments, worthiness, programs, fear programs. And I'm going to take this out of your brain, your head, your skull, your hair. And this is these just little particles floating out. And this is any of these programs that are kind of anti-life programming. So this would be any of these autoimmune aspect, or like a like the chronic fatigue kind of energetics, or anything in relationship to that. I'm going to disconnect from any of the hive mind consciousness or this matrix, this mind matrix energetics. Clearing all MK Ultra mind control, holographic inserts, consciousness traps, reversal timeline loops, any 5G sonic frequencies, COVID or viral frequencies, any of the victim-victimizer frequencies. Taking a deep breath from my conscious, subconscious, and cellular level. That's great. I'm just going to expand this out so you can let the DNA get the container. Just keep allowing us, and just clearing through the brain. And we're going to clear this down through the physical body, so clearing through the endocrine system. And I'm going to bring in a emerald golden light, it's a very galactic emerald golden light, into the endocrine system to remember the rejuvenation, regeneration process in the body. I'm just going to take that very deep into the endocrine system. Taking a deep breath. Good. And I'm just going to bring in a field around you, a pure prime creator, a very thick plasmic field, like gel, very bright, bright white. And all that we're releasing, we're going to replace with pure prime creator. I'm also going to bring in this blue plasmic light of the sixth element. This allows us to know our uniqueness and the oneness without separation. So we're just dropping this into your energetic field, particularly into the mental and physical field. That's good. Deep breath. I'm also going to pull through your heart space, a golden light. This is you before you ever came into form. And we're going to spin this through all timelines, all dimensional fields, bringing into this present moment your I am presence. And I'm just going to pull that into your entire field. That's good. And I'm going to bring that into the central and peripheral nervous system, brainstem, brain, so all becoming golden. And we're just going to align that with the golden grid network of Sophia Gaia. So we're just going to bring that in and bring in your sense of presence. It is done, it is so, it is done, it is so, it is done, it is so. I am free, I am free, I am free, I am that, I am that, I am that. So it is, so it is, so it is. I'm just going to bring this calibration into this present moment. Your crown is completely open to prime creator. Your root into Sophia Gaia is above, is below, is below, is above. So begin to imagine those energetic roots coming out the legs, out the feet, wrapping around the crystalline core of the earth. These are those crystal clear roots just coming into this present moment. I want you to continue bringing in that emerald golden light. You can just continue, just bringing it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the quantum level of your DNA, as it's just adjusting and remembering and changing or awakening the geometries at the deeper level of this rejuvenation, regeneration process. And it will continue as you continue to bring it in. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How do you feel? Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Cathleena, for the activation. And yeah, very personally, like it felt like there is some kind of release of this maybe attachment of the outcome, or maybe release of the sacrifice just to settle for something less than what we deserve. It's like in the energy field, it felt like it's really decreasing. That's the feeling I'm having. It's like it's not there. That's the while before it was present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quantum field, so we get to open it up. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Ellen, shared wonderful. Thank you, Cathleena. Janet, thank you. Miriam, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you both very much. Annette, so beautiful. Thank you so much. Mare, awesome. Thank you. Christina, also thank you. Such an amazing session. Yeah. Thank you again, Cathleena, for everything you shared with us today. It was really powerful call.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and also everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your presence, for your energy, for your questions and comments. And again, you can sign up for the program that Cathleena is offering to us on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Cathleena, CATHLEENA. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And package A includes the 9-week activation program, and package B includes the activations plus the 15-minute one-on-one session. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.